Hello everyone, my name is AP the Weird One, and we are back with episode 4 of The Red Ranger Becomes an Adventurer in Another World. When we last left off, our heroes had traveled to Acarina. They had discovered the mayor of the town, Lugart, who is a communist bastard who wants to keep his people under control, make them good people by force of will. And Red got depowered, he was about to get hit, and suddenly, the Resistance attacks and throws a smoke bomb, and they manage to leave. And they get to the Resistance base, which is outside the kingdom. Kingdom / town. And learn a little bit more about them. We've learned that this Lugrat's magic cannot work outside the town, and that they're willing to work with the heroes because they have a common goal of getting rid of the mayor and his desire seed, that sure stick. Anyway, they talked about how the city is magic that works out. There's a list of rules. In the manga, they actually detailed like the rules that must be followed. This one they kind of load up and kind of glance over it, and from there they kind of discuss some plans. Now, Red's plan is to basically use the Megazord either from a distance or get up really close, but Ydra's like, no, because that's going to destroy the city. Now, there is an important factor to consider, though. Since the magic cannot work outside the town, what if you were able to evacuate all the people and then, destroy the town and rebuild it? It is not ideal, admittedly, but that could have been an option. Another thing to point out, I misleading my thoughts, is that when they're talking to the Resistance group, they say, "Can you leave?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can leave, but for some of us, this is our hometown. Red, remember, is his place, and he could have left. He could abandon the people in favor of getting away from the evil, but that's not the smart move, and he cherishes the people around, so he understands the sentiment." Well, they finally did have a plan, and it's that Logi and Red have to work together. But the problem is they don't like each other. Now, this inherently isn't actually a bit of a problem. They have a very different kind of bond than the rest of the cast does. Their bond is based off a dislike for each other, but if they can come to a common ground of, hey, we don't like each other, but if we defend our waifus and do what's good, we can get along, sir stick. And they could get there, but the problem is Logi. Logi has, he has some problems. His relationship with Taltana isn't very secure, as we will find out. But after they're gonna go to the battleground, we get some spicy scenes. We get a bath scene, and the manga is a lot more looter. Let's say there's a little more spice to it because TV's got to be very much a prune, even though at once upon a time it wasn't. So to give an example, when Taltana meets Yeldra in the bath and takes off her towel, we can clearly see Ydra's fine big booba. We get a little bit more spice. We can see how big her boobs are. They're not as big. The announcer says, when they're kind of reflecting on their age and everything, we're similar in age, but there's clearly a big difference. And the announcer character's like, very good. Ydra's big butt, her nice big booba, that's perfect. That's awesome. But, her little, she's not flat-chested, but you could maybe say C-tier boobs, not as good. The manga, of course, gets a little bit better look at, say her nice Taltana's butt and a little bit of booba. There's a lot better scenes with them. It's very unfortunate, and the scene made me. I've been reflecting over the weekend about censorship and from Beneko, or how even though the creators they were going to give the spiciness, they kind of compromised by censoring the outfits of the fairy girls, and the fairy and the Dryad. And it was like, you shouldn't have to do it. I understand because of TV that they had to do it, and especially as it's gotten more prunish, because I know Fairy Tale, the bath scene would have never been an issue. I mean, in the bonus episode, you could see Lucy Hartfilia buck naked and need no problem. Actually, let me bring that up really quickly. Unfortunately, OBS doesn't really have any pausing, but well, I'll show you what I mean. All right, I got back. So, like here, this is a scene from a Fairy Tale OVA. I mean, there's no clouds or anything. You can clearly see her, Lucy's booba and everything. So it's like, yeah, TV society's got a little bit more prunish. But we'll stop talking about that. Let's move on with the story. So after that, Taltana gets out of the bath. She runs into Red. They have a bit of a conversation. He's like, the bath is all good and ready for you. You can be alone. Little piece of shit gremlin. She's being a little gremlin. But she talks about how when Red was in his world, they actually summarized and realized, oh yeah, you are from a different world and everything. And you fought alone because you didn't want to hurt anybody. And it's like, well, but I wasn't intending on dying. But yeah, you get the same sentiment. And and Taltana's like, I have no intentions of dying either. But she kind of leaves him on his way. And she also mentions, like, I hope you can be a hero to this world. And of course, Logi is nearby, and he's extremely jealous. He doesn't like that. We'll learn later why. But yeah, these two's relationship isn't very cemented. But anyway, Red runs off, and we get a bonus scene, a really good one. Ghidra and Red see each other naked, and they see each other's parts, and they both scream out. This is not in the manga. This is an anime original, and the announcer's like, very bad. Like, this is not good. Now he will see her naked, and another time, a little bit later. But regardless, yeah, they see each other for the first time. A little gremlin trying to matchmake her. Actually, had Logi understood that maybe that she was trying to play this, like trying to get these two together, things would have worked differently. Because right after he jumps in the bath, he takes his bond plate, preventing him from transforming. Following that scene, they go to the castle and battle. And of course, he doesn't have his bond plate, and he gets ejected. And it's up to Logi to basically save the day. Right before he goes into his action show how badass he is, Ghidra will save him and give him his first kiss, because she could heal him, but she needs to get the water out of his mouth and get his lungs restarted. He doesn't pick up on that, of course, because from being in a technological society, that's not a little bit different. You can have that, and that's not considered someone's first kiss, I guess. It's not as a little bit embarrassing, but from there, we see Logi and how powerful he is. He uses the Master of the Sword. Taltana is there because she's like, hey, let's get out of here. But he's like, no, I can do this on my own. Well, being in Taltana being in there, she puts herself in harm's way. He has to go protect her. And Ghidra, luckily, saves the day. She puts up a barrier and discovering the barrier that he's actually taken his bond plate. But he kind of assumes at first it's because he wanted to transform. No, he was jealous. Taltana is the only person that has truly understood him. He was born without mana, much like him. And he's the only one, until he meet Red, that can wield his Holy Sword. Because this Holy Sword takes away mana from individuals. And he had kind of assumed that because he's here, he could also use the sword and replace him. But that's not the case. She was a low princess. She had no knight. So when she meets Logi, he is very special to her. And it's like he would never abandon her. And of course, Red makes the quip about how his mentor, or someone he actually knew, presumably from some artwork, it is actually the Sixth Ranger, that bonds are like swords. They can be double-edged. They can hurt you. They can be useful to you. If you have too many, they can be basically a burden on you. If you leave one out alone, they can rust and go away. It's a very complicated thing, and he's also mentioned, like, and if we know, if you know your sword's strengths and weaknesses, or know your bonds, you can. It will work. It will work great. You'll understand what your sword can do, or you understand your bond's strengths and weaknesses. So he gives that speech. Ydra is having a panic attack because the barrier is about to go away. And it's a very adorable moment. Like, can we save this lecture for later? Like, things are about to go kablooey. And Logi, realizing Red's not going to replace him, when the enemies break through the shield, he destroys them. And he's like, so you two are going to work together, right? He's like, no, I hate his guts. And Red's like, kind of the same way. But they have a love-hate relationship. Their bond's built different. And of course, because they understood each other, they beat the enemy. But of course, the enemy gets bigger. So of course, the next episode's going to be Megazord time. Overall, a good episode. I don't like the censorship. And actually, going on that bath scene, it's a very fuzzy steam. It does not look right. I am gonna perfectly admit, I think it was actually bad. It's not the good kind of steam that we saw in Echo. No good. But overall, it's a good episode. I like the camaraderie. I like the little bonus scene, in the battling, the kind of discussing each other's plans. Logi just being super jealous just irritated me, but we got to have the character moment and everything. He's also not the bright, he's not brightest, and he's got the brother sisterly bond sort of like stuff. Well, no, he's just very, very protective, and he doesn't like being now that he's found someone, he doesn't like being alone. Same with Red. Red has this similar shtick, but that's why Red makes more relationships to compensate for those that fall down. But I'll end the episode here. Hopefully you guys enjoy. In terms of length, this is basically one chapter of manga. It's just the later half of 4 and then a little bit of half of 5, essentially. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my review. See you guys next time. Like, comment, and subscribe.